So I start by using the wipes provided within your delivery. Give the machine a full wipe down before every treatment. I also wipe down around the sides of the unit which my machine sits on to make sure that's all clean as well. Next up, I plug the machine in. So take the cable from the back, plug it into the back of the machine. At this point I was always taught, and like I say with all of this, refer back to your training from when you were taught on the machine, but I was always taught to open the door, then to turn on the power switch, and now the machine is turning on. At this point your machine should be turned on and you should be seeing the 2 yellow lines inside the middle box on the cycler to say that it's ready for the cartridge to be entered. At this point I get all of the bags and I hang them up on the holder for the fluid bags. So as you can see, I hang 5 bags up here, and I always choose to put the bags up before I put the cartridge into the machine. You always find your best way of doing it, how you see fit, but I go about putting the bags up first and then putting the cartridge into the machine. So I use 6 bags for treatment, for each treatment. Your prescription may be different, but I hang 5 bags up here, and then the final bag goes on top of the cycler, which is then strapped in place. Next up, I wipe down the tray that I use to prepare my cartridge. I usually give it 3 wipes with 3 different wipes. My advice to you, as well as following the training given to you by your unit, is be as thorough as you can with your cleaning. At this point, I have washed and sanitized my hands, and I choose to wear gloves. When I was first taught in unit, they didn't tell me I had to wear gloves, but this is a conscious effort that I've made at home to start wearing gloves when preparing the cartridge. Like I said, in this situation, it's up to you, be as clean as you like. If you don't need to wear gloves, that's fine, you can just wash and sanitize, but if you want to wear gloves, at the end of the day, you're putting an extra layer between your hands and the things you're touching, so that can't be bad. Now, in order to prepare the cartridge, I start off by removing these tabs around the lines. So I remove these 2 tabs here. Then I start off by tightening up the blue line here, making sure that is finger tight. Then working your way to the drain line, which is the yellow line, making sure that is finger tight. And then working your way to the arterial red line and making sure that is finger tight. I then remove the tabs, which keep everything nice and neat and organized within the cartridge. So you had 1, 2, 3 round there, a 4th tab here, and then I carefully remove this as well. At this point now, I also locate the green clamp here and make sure that is finger tight. I remove this and I put this on top of the machine so it's safe, ready for use later. I locate the white clamp here by the dialyzer, and this clamp here has to be closed. I then come to the front of the dialyzer here, and this end here to the front of the dialyzer, make sure that is also finger tight. Now, placing the cartridge inside the machine, I pick up the cartridge like so, being careful not to get the wires tangled. I hold the main bulk of the wires in my right hand and the cartridge in my left. I then slot the cartridge down into the machine and rest the wires on top of my tray down here. Once the cartridge is inside the machine, it's important to make sure that the leads are pressed in where the air sensors meet. So you've got one here on the left hand side of the machine, another here just inside the machine which you can't see from this shot, and there's another in the bottom right hand corner. So make sure you follow the training given to you by your unit. Now the cartridge is correctly positioned inside the machine, the next job to do is to insert the access pressure pod. Down here you can see, this is where the access pressure pod goes into the machine. Here I insert the access pressure pod. I was always taught to give it a slight turn to the left, wait for a little click, and then tighten up the full way. The access pressure pod is now inserted into the machine. At this point, with the cartridge in the machine and the access pressure pod connected, you can now close the machine. Once the machine is closed up, it's now time to insert the saline spike into the 1 litre bag of saline. I like to do this on a flat surface, so I start off by removing the end of the top on the saline bag, taking the spike in one hand, removing the cap off the top, being sure not to touch the end of the spike, grabbing the bag, keeping the bag as flat as possible, inserting the spike into the bag and gently twisting and turning. Now you will see the saline spike is connected to the bag. Now take the bag of saline and hang it up here. We're now ready to start the priming process. So just a very quick recap on what's happened so far. We started off with wiping down the machine, cleaning all around the area, preparing the cartridge and inserting the cartridge into the machine, inserting the access pressure pod down here. We've hung all of the 5 bags up the top here and 1 bag on top of the warmer strapped down. At this point here we've also sorted out our saline bag here, inserted the spike and hung that up the top. At this point, going to the machine, it makes it nice and clear for you. Like I say, inside this middle box you should see the 2 yellow lines, and clearly here this button is illuminated. We are ready to press this button and begin the priming process. So when I press this here, you'll see the machine is now beginning priming. Prime for my machine is 23 minutes, during which the machine will go through a series of tests to make sure it's working correctly before we go on to the next stage. As the machine is priming, I connect the warmer to the top here. You hear that beeping sound, and I have my warmer up on just 1 short of full. And that begins to warm this bag up. Now whilst the machine is priming, it's important that we connect these 5 bags here to the warmer bag on top of the machine. So in order to do that, we need to use this little pack here. Now this little pack here, which is called the Express Fluid Warmer Disposable Set, this is comprised of 2 main parts. The leads that go into the bags, and this connector here. Now the smallest part of the connector here connects to the end of the warmer bag on top of the machine. So we're looking for this line here. I normally unscrew the cap off the end of that, and unscrew the cap off the end of one side of the small green line, and connect one to the other. At this point we now need to prime this green line here. In order to do this, firstly we have to break the seal. Now the seal's broken, the fluid will start to come from the main bag through this line. Now with the green clamp open, you're going to slightly loosen the end of this, wait for it to fill up with fluid, let a few drops come out, close it, and then close the green clamp. This line is now primed and ready to use. Next up, we're going to take the rest of the green lines here and we connect these lines to the bags. One by one, I just work my way around and then connecting to each bag as I go around. Because I use 5 bags, I'm always left with 3 clamps left. So what I do with these is I just close them off so we get no leaks out of there. And now we need to take this spike here and connect that to the main warmer bag. so all of these 5 bags here flow into the warmer bag on top of the machine. In order to do that, we come back to the bag on top of the machine. What we're going to do is carefully remove the end of this connection. Remove the end off of our spike here, being careful not to touch the end, and carefully connecting the spike, ensuring that we have a nice tight seal here between the end of the spike and the bag here. Now the 5 bags are connected to the warmer bag on top of the machine, it's now time to get this fluid here feeding in to the main bag on top of the machine. In order to do that, nice and simply, just make sure that all of the green clamps on these lines are open. Now work your way around, ensuring that it's tight at the same time, and just gently crack the seal on each of these bags. All the seals have been cracked, all the connections are nice and tight. This fluid here is now going to gradually, throughout the course of the treatment, feed through to the main warmer bag on top of the machine, which will then feed through the cycler. Lastly, whilst the machine is finishing its prime, I take the 2 drain lines and I prepare these drain lines. Now I use 2 because I have to feed the drain line from my machine through the corridor upstairs in my house into the bathroom. Connector here I just put onto the end of the first drain line, and that way I can pop that down. Now the end of the first drain line here, in order to make it longer, I connect that to the second drain line. Here is the end of the second drain line, so if you'd like, we've created a kind of extension lead to feed, which will be from the machine through the corridor of the upstairs of the house into the bathroom. Into the bathroom, I just let it hang inside the bath there, and what I will do is put some tape along here to make sure that it stays put. I'd like to just note that throughout the process of setting up the machine, I've washed, sanitised my hands several times. There's no set amount of times you should wash your hands when you're doing the machine. There are times that they tell you within training when you should wash your hands before you move on to the next stage, but for me, if you want to wash your hands again, just wash them again. If you want to change your gloves, just change your gloves. You can never be too clean whilst doing this. So for me, cleanliness is key. Now we're going to move on. The machine is primed, you can hear it beeping away, so we're going to move on to the next stage. Now we're going to press the mute button once. Now you get a series of numbers come up in here. Press the mute button again twice, and now you should here have in the top right hand box all zeros, and in the top box here between the green arrows 23.0. I've just washed and sanitized my hands. I don't really feel the need at this point to wear a pair of gloves, because right now I'm just going to remove the tabs which hold the dialyzer in place. This is called snap and tap. The numbers underneath the dialyzer, if they're facing upwards to the sky, we're just going to tap the end of the dialyzer there. Now this process here is to remove any air, and the air will be removed from the dialyzer. Right now I think that's good, so I'm just going to turn the dialyzer up and pop it inside its cradle at the top there. Even though it has got the stopper cap on the end, which we've made sure was nice and tight at the beginning, I just tie a knot inside there to make sure that we're not going to get any leaks out of the end of this line. So once again, I've washed and sanitized my hands. We're going to use this little pack here. At this point, I will put a new pair of gloves on. Right, gloves on. We're going to start up here at the top of the dialyzer. Hopefully you can see. Remove this tab off here. Close the blue clamp. Remove the end of the dialyzer off here. And we're going to connect the 50ml syringe from that small pack onto the end of this, onto the end of the dialyzer. Point it to the sky. Hopefully you can see that up in the picture. So we're going to point that upwards. Open the blue clamp and fill that 10 mils of fluid from the dialyzer. This is what allows us to ensure there's no more air in the dialyzer, and if there is, it's now being caught at the top of this syringe. Now that's done, we're going to press the stop button. You'll see a series of new numbers inside here, and we're going to program those numbers in a second. Those numbers are different for each and every user of the machine because this is relating to your personal prescription for your treatment. So next up, we're going to start around here, locate the red arterial line, and here, which is called the saline T, we're just going to prime the saline T. So keeping the clamp open, you're going to remove the cap slightly, do it so you can see. A few drips come out there, which means the fluid is right to the end of the line, and now close that clamp. That line is now primed. We're now going to find the line with the green clamp and the white clamp out of the machine. You're going to make sure both of the clamps are closed, undo the two, take this one here, which is connected to the white clamp, find your saline T, which we've just primed, and you're going to connect the two of those together. At this point, ensure the two white clamps are both closed. Taking the green end with the clamp still closed, come up to the top of the machine here, find the connector that we put on the top here before, which is coming out of the warmer bag, under the end of that. Connect the two of them together, make sure it's nice and tight, and these two clamps should now be open. At this point here, if you wanted to, you could change your gloves. Find the red arterial line here, ensuring that the clamp which comes from the 1 litre saline bag to the main line is closed. Undo the clamp from there. With our arterial line in hand, we take our connector that we had earlier, we put on top of the machine, and we connect the red arterial line. At the other end, we're now going to connect the venous line, which is the blue line. Before I do that, I just pop a small 10mm syringe on the end of the red line. Now we move our attention to the blue line, clamping the top. Remove the blue line from the 1 litre saline bag here. Open up the other end and connect the blue line. At this point here, you should have this. We can now connect this. That is nicely squared away now. Put another 10mm syringe up on the end of the blue line to make sure that's neatly squared away. Taking my drain line from the top here, this is the drain line. Taking the other end of the drain line, undo the cap that we put on the end there, and connect the two together. I take a couple of these alcohol wipes and I just clean around certain areas. All that's left to do now is just to input my personal prescription details into the machine, and then we're ready to connect. So there you have it, guys. That was well, my daily routine of how I set the machine up and go about things. As you go on and you start doing it, you'll get much quicker. Of course, it's taken me a while to do this today because I've been filming at the same time. I've washed my hands about a gazillion times and got through many pairs of gloves because of course I've been recording this video whilst actually setting the machine up and keeping nice and hygienic and clean and sterile whilst doing so. If you're also a dialysis patient and you do home dialysis, then please just post in the comments. Hopefully you like this video, hopefully it helps you out a little bit. If you're new to dialysis and you're just going through training, then as I said at the beginning, please stick to your actual training. So when you go to unit and they train you on how to do the machine, that is how it should be done. I've been trained, I've followed the guidelines that they've given me, and then in some cases maybe you just change the order of things slightly. So for instance, they may tell you hang the bags up first, put these on first, but of course you saw from my video how I go about things, and it's still absolutely fine. It's what works for you. And like I say, when it comes to hand washing and cleanliness, you can never be too clean. So wash your hands again and again and again if you need to. Sterilize with the hand sanitizer. You need to use more pairs of gloves, just use more pairs of gloves. So guys, like I say, I hope this helps you. Post in the comments. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe to my channel. Somewhere down here on either side of the video there's going to be a link to Life on Dialysis, which is kind of a daily vlog that I did of me living with dialysis and what I do on a day-to-day outside of lockdown. Yeah, hope you like it, guys. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.